Buenas, buenas, buenas. A ver si jala esto. Hola, hola, hola. ¿Cómo están? Ahí voy viendo que se van metiendo. Saluditos, saluditos. Diego, la Dianis, Monse, Félix, Edgar. ¿Qué tal? Tomás Prada. ¿Cómo están, chavos? Ah, mira, aquí está Luca. Go live. Aquí está.
Hola,
Hey,
¿cómo
Luca.
estamos? ¿Todo bien?
Muy bien, muy bien. How is Brazil?
Um, we're gonna do it in English, right? Because my Spanish is it's not very good. I think it's easier if we do it in English. So apologize to all the Mexican people that are watching us, but I think it will be better if we do it in English. Brazil is very good. I'm in my farm, which is about 1 hour away from São Paulo. And I've been here for the last 2 months, really just waiting to see how things sort out. I should go back to Europe in a month time. That's more realistic.
So have you been training at home or do you have like a specific routine you've been doing at home?
Yes, I've been training, especially fitness, which is something we can do. In my farm, I have a lot of free space, so I have a lot of areas I can run and cycle and do other sports. So that's very good. I'm very fortunate to have this. But no racing apart from the simulator race and simulator work that we can do from home, which is basically just a video game. We can't practice that much. I hope the go-kart tracks they can open up and get going quite soon, so we can go back racing as soon as possible.
So do you have an expected date for Formula E already, or it's still to be determined?
At the moment, we are working with the possibility of having the races back in August. That's the situation that we have here. So the latest information. So we hope we can race around that date. It will be extremely good for us to finish this championship. Now we've done in Formula E already 5 races. Mexico was one of them, which was completely crowded, completely insane. Like always, Mexico is an amazing weekend. But the future now looks not that good. I'm very happy that we've made Mexico this year, because I think it's going to take a lot of time for us to have something in the same way as the Mexican stadium back. So probably with the closed doors, no public, no podium, nothing.
Yeah, definitely. Mexico was, I think, I was there at the track, and it was just such an exciting race. I think what you guys do in Formula E is absolutely amazing, because it's really all about really like...
No, it's what Mexicans do. It's the Mexican fans that make that race very special. It's the best race of the year.
La Ola, do you know what La Ola is?
Yeah, La Ola, like, and then everybody goes around. You can hear the crowd in the stadium with the Formula E car, which is something that never happened anywhere. So you can hear the crowd cheering. It's just amazing.
So besides Mexico, is there any other?
Memo Rojas. Hello. How are you?
¿Qué pasa, Memo? A good friend, Memo. You competed with him in Le Mans, probably, no?
Yes, in Le Mans. I think 2014, 15. I don't know. I don't remember the date. But yes, we raced together, I think.
Because you've been 2 times in the podium in the 24 hours of Le Mans, no?
Three times overall. I've been on the podium 2013, 14, and 16. I did it 4 times with Audi in LMP1, and we were very close to win it in 2014. We led the race until 2 hours to the end, and then the turbocharge broke down. And but yeah, 3 podiums and best result for a Brazilian there. Still, that victory was very close. I'm always thinking about if I should go back and try to win it, because it's just an amazing race.
It's amazing. Tell us a little bit about Le Mans, the whole journey to Le Mans and the race, because I think it's just one of the most interesting sporting events, because obviously the nature of it, the fans.
It's a very special event. Le Mans, physically for the driver, is the most extreme race you can ever have, because you drive for 9 hours, 10 hours, but when you start the race already on Saturday, you're already tired because you have practices at night, you don't sleep well, you're the whole week there, you prepare the whole year, like the Indy 500, you prepare the whole year for that specific event. That event is more important than the championship. So everything is at stake. So it's very, very special, and very tiring mentally, physically. It's a big team effort. Very, very special.
It's 4 hour stints, is it?
Between 3 and 4 hours, maximum 4 hours. Yes.
And then you're in the car probably 4 times throughout the 24 hours?
Yeah, if everything goes well, 3 times. So you do 3 times 3 hours, so about 9 hours. That's how much you drive. For you to have an idea, when I finished Le Mans, the year I drove most, I drove almost 11 hours. I drove 10 hours, 40 minutes in total. And my arms, they were so stressed, so pumped, that I could not, after the race finished, and I took a week. Normally I take a week after Le Mans to try to go back to a normal, to rest, just to get back to normal. And my arm got so much inflamed that blood stopped circulating to my hand. So I had to sleep with my arm inside a bucket of ice for like 3 or 4 nights, so I could reduce the swelling of my arm, and I could go back to a normal feeling on the hands after driving 10.5 hours in Le Mans.
Yeah, it's impressive. Someone is asking, did you drive at night?
Yeah, everybody drives at night. It's just impossible not to. You drive either the beginning of the night or the middle or the end, but all the drivers, they have to experience, and it's extremely tricky, especially if it starts to rain and you don't know, you can't see the track, so you don't know if the next corner could be very wet, and if you crash the car, it's done. The race is finished. The whole year of work is gone. So it's extremely difficult to do something there, to be consistent and fast and not do any mistakes for such a long time.
And obviously, you being in the LMP1, you're fighting traffic all day long, no? This is constant. And at night, your vision, I guess, it reduces, even though the cars have proper lighting, but I guess this does become a challenge, no?
At night, with the lights in your mirror, it's very difficult to judge distance between the cars. So it's extremely hard to say, look, the car is 100 meters behind, 200 maybe just behind you. So everything becomes much trickier. People are tired, they do more mistakes. So overtaking and maintaining the pace is extremely difficult.
Wow, it is. Yeah, I think it's one of the races that I think everyone wishes to go at some point. But going back to Formula E, I mean, I think it's been amazing what Formula E has done in the last few years. Just the growth that you see in the series, the power, and obviously the messaging. And I know you're very involved into all the sustainability behind Formula E. What do you think? What's the future for Formula E?
Yeah, somebody's asking here, Neto is asking, what do you think about the Formula E car Gen 2 Evo, which is the next generation of the Formula E car? And yes, we created Formula E. When I say we, because I was the third person in the company there. It was just basically Alejandro Alberto, which I have a lot of respect and admiration for what they've done, and myself, walking around in Paris, discussing how the race would be here or there. And I was a bit in charge of how to design the track, how to make it work, what would be the ideal scenario. Alejandro already had in his mind that there will be city races and not circuits in general. And the series has grown immensely for the past 6 years, up to the stage that we have now 9 manufacturers, most than ever in motorsport. The electric cars are definitely the future, especially in a post-coronavirus world. So the series has a lot of strengths. It was developed, conceived, and executed in a very good fashion, in a precise way, and very cost-effective. That's why even now with the coronavirus, we will survive and become, I would say, survive in a better shape than other racing series out there. And the future is the Gen 2 Evo car that in my view could be 4-wheel drive, accelerate faster than an F1 car, 0 to 100, 0 to 200. Races will still be around 1 hour, no pit stop, lighter car, better performing, and still with a good level of competitiveness and very good cost-effective control of the series, of the budget for the teams. That will be very, very important for motorsport in the future.
Definitely. So if you had to compare the driving, the style of the Formula E car, what would you think would be the closest to compare?
That's a very tough question. Each race car has its unique feature. So F1, Le Mans hybrid sports car, Formula E Generation 1, Formula E Generation 2, Generation 3 car that could be 4-wheel drive, the one I just described. Every car has a specific detail, and Formula E is really a big mixture of sliding, of low downforce, a lot of torque, no mistakes, you have to be very precise. It's an extremely difficult car to drive, very sensitive, very edgy, moving all the time. You are moving almost like if you're driving on rain tires, which is more or less what we do. We drive with rain tires on the dry. So increases the complexity, actually becomes more difficult than if you would have slicks. So the car is moving all the time. In Mexico, last corner is a 200 kph corner, and the car is moving a lot all the time. You're counter steering. If you look at the data, the steering is almost like a rally car. You're always like trying to slide as much as you can, trying to not scrub speed. It's extremely unique. That's why a lot of drivers, they take a lot of time to adapt to Formula E, and they are not successful straight away.
Yeah, and I think it's like, I mean, something that Formula One is lacking these days is just the close competitiveness. And it's just like action all around throughout the race. And it's just amazing. Because normally in F1, you're used to, like, once the race is set, you just kind of follow a pattern and obviously wait for perhaps strategy or incidents. But you guys, you're just fighting the position every turn, every lap.
That is true, because the difference between the best Formula E car and the worst Formula E car, although the manufacturers can develop the motor and the gearbox, everything by themselves, there's a lot of technology involved in developing a Formula E car. If we look at today, the best car to the worst car is not bigger than half a second. So in qualifying, a good driver with a good feeling of the track, they can outperform the best car. That's why we had, in the last 5 races, we had 5 different winners. Everyone is a contender. Everyone can win a race anytime. And that's what I think is lacking in F1 at the moment, more level cars. So actually the best driver can stand out. If you put into percentage, in F1 is 70% car, 30% driver, something like this. And in Formula E, it's probably the opposite. It's 70% driver, 30% car. So really, you can, if you have a good car, of course, it helps a lot to win a championship. But anyone can win a race. When we arrive in the weekend, instead of only knowing that it will be like between 2 or 3 teams, anyone can win. So we have 20 drivers that can win races.
Definitely. And I think something that's been in discussion, I guess, the last year or so with Formula One is maybe looking at more simplified weekends in terms of the schedule and the race activity. You guys, for instance, have a much simpler schedule than Formula One. As a driver, what do you think? Does that work? Do you actually like, because a lot of the point is about traveling and making the teams not to stay out of home that much. So what do you think about that?
Yes, that's correct, but less in this case is more. So while F1 has Friday, Saturday, and Sunday weekends for a race, everything for us happens on Saturday. So there is less time for the driver to learn. So either you're quick and you learn the track and you're fast straight away, or your weekend can be over. So that's really what's happening in Formula E. You need to arrive there. You need to be on pace. You cannot do any mistake, because if you miss a corner, it's not that you go on the grass and you come back. If you miss a corner, you touch the wall and it's done. So you have to be more precise and more fast and less data analysis, less optimization than general racing series that races on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
So do you think perhaps you guys take a little bit more of a conservative approach into qualifying, obviously, because you have the risk of messing up?
Qualifying is just one lap. So qualifying is one lap with a power that you cannot practice really before that. So it is tricky. It is extremely challenging to make a lap in qualifying, and you have to attack, because every driver is attacking all the time. So you cannot take it easy. You don't have the margin. It's not that you have a car. If I had a car which would be a second faster, I could take it easy and just do a lap and try to be there on top 5. But in Formula E, everybody's so close that if you do a small mistake or you don't take the maximum out of your car, you're going to be starting 15th, 20th easy in a race, and then it becomes very difficult.
And you only have one car. That's all you have for the weekend, right?
One car, one tire. Oh, we have 2 tires, but one car, 2 sets of tires. That's it. There is no much time you can do with setup. You cannot change it overnight. You cannot change gearbox. You cannot change anything. You go there, you drive, you qualify, you race. Everything within 5 to 6 hours.
It is, yeah. It is. I think a lot. Just different pressure, but a lot of pressure. Of obviously, you can afford to have 0 mistakes. Whereas I guess in F1, you do have much more room you can destroy your car on Friday and be able to qualify on the Saturday.
Yeah, the speeds of Formula One are much greater, but and also you have the risk. If you crash in Saturday morning, you don't qualify Saturday afternoon, like for tracks like Monaco. But the new tracks, I'm not a big fan of the new tracks of Formula One, like Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Austin. Although Austin, the track itself, the layout is pretty cool and it's very nice to drive, but there is 0 cost for a mistake. You do a mistake, you go on the outside, you go back. You do another mistake, you go outside, you go back. Even the approach for that is different than Formula E, because Formula One, you can try much harder to be sharper, much faster, which means that, okay, I brake at the 100-meter board. If it doesn't work, I go straight and I come back. Nothing happens. Like Monza, for example. You go back, you brake there. If it doesn't brake, you go straight, you do another chicane, and you go again. In Formula E, it doesn't happen that. Formula E, if you brake one braking point too late, there is a concrete barrier. You crash and it's done. So you have to brake at 120 and check if the car stops and go on 10 and then go again. So even the approach is different. So people are asking if it's more difficult or easier to drive. It's just a different animal. One has more speed, the other has more complexity and less margin for mistakes.
I think that's what's made, I guess, on the side of Formula One, Baku, very interesting race. Because
for example, Baku is very interesting, very little margin for error, like Monaco, like Singapore. It makes it much more tricky. But because F1 cars rely so much on downforce, on those tracks it's almost impossible to overtake. Baku is a different example. Baku has a long straight, you can overtake. But Singapore and Monaco, they are much tighter. And we have even more tight tracks. So I think the longest race we had ever in Formula E was in Mexico City this year. And in Mexico, we had a lot of overtaking opportunities, but most of the tracks, they're super tight. So you have to go for it. You have to scrub. The car is made to be stronger, so you're touching more everywhere. So it is a very, very good race.
Yeah, the turn one was amazing in Mexico. I didn't get a chance to go see in the back, but yeah, definitely turn one. There was a lot of action since the starting of the race. For
Yes.
what do you consider the most difficult track for Formula E?
The most difficult one. Uh, a very difficult one is Riyadh in that we raced this year. So Riyadh, it's extremely difficult because of the fast section of S's that we have, and the situation with the high speed corners and very close walls, but also Hong Kong is difficult because also it's no margin for errors. We have a lot of difficult tracks, but my favorite one was Montreal and Buenos Aires. I think these two. And Mexico is very special because it's the only track which we race, which is in a racing track, although it's different. And this year was extremely fast, but also it's very special because it's a totally different type of track that we normally don't race.
And compared to the amount of fans, like Mexico, is it one of the where more people go?
Mexico is the best race of the year by far with fans. Mexico, we had close to 100,000 people this year. It was absolutely crazy. I love the Mexican fans, and they have such a warm heart. They receive us, and they cheer. They ask for autographs. I signed probably like thousands of autographs. It was super funny, and for me, it's the best race of the season. Okay, I won it 3 times actually, and got qualified once. So actually, I won it twice, but I've been on the podium 3 times out of 5 races we did there. So I love Mexico, and I had my most amazing Formula E victories there. Last year was probably the most amazing, and the year before, coming from last, also have a special place in my heart, that victory.
The podium with all the people, no, I think it's a special one.
Yeah, and the podium, like the catwalk with all the people shouting, it's just the adrenaline. It's just insane. You feel like a rock star. And after like last year, after that end that I overtook in the last 10 meters, that only happens once in a lifetime. You don't see that ever in a motorsport event. So I just like went completely nuts and threw my underwear in the for the public there, for the fans. I had a lot of time. I love Mexico City.
And food-wise in Mexico, do you enjoy the Mexican cuisine?
Yes, one of my favorite foods it's avocado. So
Which
I
one?
eat avocado in general. I eat quite a lot. So all the guacamole there. Yeah, I love Mexican food, and the gastronomy in Mexico City is super nice. We've been to many different restaurants there, from Japanese to Mexican and steaks. It's extremely good. So I have a lot of friends in Mexico City as well. So I'm always very well treated. People are warm. I have no. I have only the only complaint I have for Mexico is the traffic.
The traffic.
That we need the traffic to go to the track and back to the city every day. But apart from that, almost no complaints.
And because you were here also for Race of Champions, weren't you?
That's true. I did Race of Champions last year, beginning of last year, and also it was a lot of fun and very, very special. A lot of people. I had a good time there. Yes, but Race of Champions is much more fun than serious. You're there, you're driving cars, but at night you're having fun, having late dinners with the other drivers. It's extremely fun to be part of, but it's not as close as serious as the racing we do in Formula E or other series.
Yeah, exactly. And it's because Race of Champions is 2 days, no, only, and then you're done.
Yes, you don't practice, you do a few laps with each car, and then you have a random set of cars that you can drive, from like super big, like truck like cars that roll around like crazy, to rally cars, to a Mexican Vol car that we drove, to Ariel Atoms, to the Boogie. It's a lot of fun, but completely different again from any type of motorsport that I've done before. And the track is very tiny, racing against the clock. But the having it on the stadium was amazing.
So there's a couple of questions here. One is, did you like the Bull cars?
Yeah, I drove the Vol cars and I was very impressed. But we drove the Race of Champions track is very small, so we don't even put third gear. So we're always first, second, first, second, first, second. So you cannot really feel the car that much. But it was the fastest car over there, and we had a lot of fast cars. So the guys behind the Vol project, they are. I have to congratulate them in a very special way, because it's not easy to do a race car like that. And I know it's a Mexican project, and I was very happy to drive it.
Nice. The second one, I think, is an interesting one. They're asking about the Brazilian stock cars, which I guess a lot of motorsport fans, it's just one of those categories that are just very special.
Yes, Brazilian stock car is like the NASCAR of Brazil. So a lot of people competing in the equal cars. I drove there in the 2018 championship. Was my rookie season in a closed cockpit car, and I won 3 races. Last year, I also was fighting. Actually, I won the Million Reais race. Got disqualified because there was a dodgy overtake maneuver over first place. I was on pole position, so I have a big appreciation for stock cars, and I enjoyed very much the time I drove there. So hopefully one day I can maybe drive again in the future. Who knows?
And then there's another one saying, if you could pick one place to go with Formula E that is not in the current calendar, which
Brazil has to be Brazil.
they,
I'm Brazilian, and Brazil is lacking a lot of events, and it would be amazing if we could do a race in Brazil on the streets of Rio or São Paulo or South or Brasilia, anywhere as far as we could have a race. Brazil was the first race ever that we announced, and we announced it twice, and twice the government in last minute created some troubles that we could not go. But I still have the expectation to before I retire, I could race in São Paulo or in Brazil in general one time.
fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
They're asking, what is your favorite Audi car?
I have an Audi E-Tron, an electric Audi, and I'm very happy with it. I use it as my day car, but as a classic car, I have an R8 V10 manual that I have had it for a few years, and it's a super fun car to drive in the weekends when I have the time.
It's a beast, no?
It's a beast, but I live in the south of France. I live in Monaco. There you cannot drive fast at all, so it's just to go out and have a little bit of fun. But nowadays it's extremely difficult to go fast, and nobody should really go fast with a car on public roads. In Germany you can go fast, but in the south of France it's almost impossible. So you just need to enjoy the car, and that's why I like the manual gearbox, because you can change, you can do a little bit of heel and toe, but that's it. And I think for the future, more and more controls will happen, so you have to put the power down really on the racetrack.
They're asking if you like DTM.
I love DTM. I drove the cars a couple of times, and it's a very special car. Also, a lot of downforce, very good chassis. Power of the engine when I drove was not that impressive, but the car is like a Formula car made into a GT car. So very cool championship.
There's a lot of technology that goes into those cars.
A lot of technology, high costs, but amazing car to drive, and a lot of talented drivers, very, very talented drivers.
And the new category, the Extreme E, are you planning to take part of that, or are you just gonna focus with Formula E? How is that gonna work in conjunction the two championships?
Yeah, Extreme E is it's an amazing initiative from Alejandro, the founder of Formula E, that is to take electric SUVs 4x4 in the most remote corners of the earth. And I think it will be an extremely successful championship. At the moment, I don't have any involvement with the series or with the team, but you never know. In the future, definitely it's in my radar, at least to try the car and see how it feels.
So it's like, obviously with Fernando doing the Dakar, I think it's picked up a lot of interest. The kind of the off-road type racing. I think that's something to look at. Let me see what else. They're saying that Audi retires from DTM this year.
Yeah, end of this year, yes. So Audi has announced that they will stop DTM to focus only on electric motorsport, so Formula E, and they will evaluate other series in the future. And I understand. I think each brand and each company has their own strategy for the future, and we have to respect it and go along and do the best we can to represent the brand that we're working with, and the motorsport that we all love. Try to always increase. I always use this analogy to increase the pie of motorsport. Motorsport is not a sum zero. Not that one championship goes bust, the other gets better. It's more like a pie. If we increase the pie, there is more pie for everyone. And at the moment, motorsport is shrinking because of coronavirus, because of sponsorship, because of a lot of factors, especially macroeconomic factors that I will not go into detail here. But motorsport, the pie is shrinking every year, and we need to do our best to increase the pie and to make the pie bigger and motorsport more successful. Mexico is a perfect example that before, like, congratulations to you actually to make such a probably I think for the last 3 or 4 years received the best race of the year of F1, is the best race of Formula E 5 times. So five times the best race of F1 for sure. Since we've been there, the best race of Formula E. So Mexican fans are the perfect example that motorsport can grow and be healthy if you have a competent people doing the promotion, engaging with the fans, and explaining the right way, showcasing the right way, giving the right value for the customer. I think that's the best way we can increase motorsport and turn into a very good product.
Definitely, and thank you for the comments. I see some questions obviously regarding your project in violet light, and they're asking if obviously are you bringing that to Mexico?
Who is asking? Yes. So basically, I did a couple of stuff during the COVID pandemic to try to help Brazil. I raised through crowdfunding 150,000 reais, helped something like 20,000 old people from public asylums. Then I 3D printed something like 2,000 face shields for the workers, for people in hospitals that needed the EPIs. And then I developed a machine using ultraviolet C light to clean and sanitize surfaces. And I had a lot of requests. So in the end, I built a small factory to build all the machines. Wow. And then trying to give all to of course, I don't have the money to do everything for everybody. So of course I need to pay the cost of the factory. So I'm charging the cost price of these machines for hospitals and public services, and charging a normal price for companies, enterprise that wants to use this technology, and has been proven to be very successful. The name is Hyperviolet. You can go on Instagram or at the website hyperviolet.com.br and check. And I hope we can get it to Mexico. It definitely is going to work. It's cheap, it's effective, and will help to protect the people and the public transport, hotels, cinemas, restaurants, you name it.
A little bit the product, is it's something that everyone can buy, and how do they use it?
Uh, I don't think everyone at the moment anyone can buy, but I'm not selling to everyone because it's a dangerous piece of equipment. So if you look directly into the light for very long, you can get blind. If you get skin exposed to ultraviolet C light, you're gonna burn yourself like you burn in the sun, and in the long term, it could cause skin cancer. So I don't think it's appropriate to household people to operate it. I think it's the right approach is to sell or to rent for a provider, and this provider operates the machine and provides the correct sanitization. You can buy it on Alibaba or the Chinese website, a lot of lamps here and there, and turn it in your house for it to work, but you never know the amount, the quantity of light needed, how to operate. You have to have child safe protection. So it's not a toy. It's not something that you plug and play and will work. You need to have a proper professional service behind to make it work properly and nobody gets hurt.
And how did you came up with this idea?
Just doing some research, trying to help society, trying to make sure that I could help Brazil to go back to a normal life as soon as possible. And I think it's a very cost-effective idea, but was basically doing research on the internet and reading a couple of books and watching a couple of documentaries and understanding that this technology is already being used in hospitals, water treatments, and so on. So that's why I did it.
It's amazing. We've been doing also a little bit of help here in Mexico, and obviously I think that's how we got in touch a little bit. But there's a couple of questions from this person that I've seen. They put it a couple of times. One is, apparently you're a big fan of Da Vinci.
Yes, actually, my son is named after Leonardo da Vinci. The name of my son is Leo. It's Leonardo. Yeah, I read his biography. I read I did a lot of research on his work, and I'm a big fan since I'm a kid. On my bedroom, on the wall, there was no rock star, nothing. It was the main work of Leonardo da Vinci in the helicopter, the tank, the anatomy, the paintings. It was a big poster I had on my bedroom.
What is the thing that intrigues you the most about Da Vinci?
About Da Vinci is the amplitude of his work. He went from anatomy to creating tanks and flying machines and conceiving the helicopter and the movable bridges to painting the Mona Lisa and some other amazing. So the diversity that he worked through his life is a work of genius. I don't think there has ever been a human being that had so much understanding and created so much knowledge in so many different areas as Leonardo da Vinci. He was hundreds of years in front of his time. So that was truly amazing.
Well, and also speaking of great minds, I mean, you have a degree in Harvard, so you're not.
I don't have a degree yet. I'm currently working on my degree. It's a 3-year program, and I just did the first one last year. This year we don't know what's going to happen, and then I have another year. So I have another 2 years to go.
And with the racing, how are you managing this? Are you doing mostly online or?
Yeah, it's a program you only need to be 3 weeks there personally, and it fits very well with our scheduled vacations. So I'm using my vacations to go there, and whenever I have free time, I try to follow up online and try to stay up to date with this program. Yes,
because it's amazing. I think obviously, doing what you've done in the racing world, it seems like, and I guess you just see it across the board, and other drivers, they're just, I guess, in a way satisfied with what they're doing, and it seems that you just like to always to look for more and more things to learn and adventure into new arenas.
Yes, I'm very curious, and I like to learn. I like to read a lot. I use a lot of my free time reading and trying to learn. I think it's part of human evolution to try to understand the world, how it is, and try to become a better person as you get older. And I think racing is just a part of my life. It's something which I love to do, and I dedicated my heart and soul to do it since I'm a young boy. But after I turned 40, I don't know if I will still be racing. Probably I'll be doing something else, and there will be a second part of my life, or a third part of my life, or a second job, or a third job. And I hope I can be ready and be as, let's say, have a good performance in the same way as I gladly had in motorsport in the other areas that I will use after my racing career is as a sportsman is finished.
So do you already have at least a vision of what you would like to do after retirement from racing, or you're still trying to figure it out?
I don't have a clear plan. I think retiring from racing is still a few years from now, so a lot of things can happen. Who could predict this pandemic, and then everybody would be talking to other people just using video conferences and not having sport events anymore like that. So you never know what to expect from the future, especially when you're talking about 3 to 5 years time. So at the moment, I'm preparing myself, like I told you, with different courses and different programs, and trying different experiments with different companies. I developed an e-bike, electric bike from scratch, made out of niobium. I'm doing these ultraviolet lights. I've been heavily involved with the Robo Race project for 2 years with autonomous car. I helped to create Formula E. So I'm just trying here and there, trying to learn with more experienced people than I am, how to manage companies, how to, which type of interests, the trends of the world, how the world is going to be in 5 to 10 years time, and try to anticipate that and try to solve problems whenever I can, whenever I stop. So that's my strategy at the moment. Just try to prepare and try to learn as much as possible to become a better person, a better driver, but a better person in general. I think that's what I can do at the moment.
Amazing. It's just a very, very inspiring. They're asking a little bit about Robo Race. Can you tell us a little bit? Obviously, I think the car, I saw it in Goodwood. I think was here. It's just amazing. But where is the project currently, and how is it moving forward?
So Robo Race is it's a project on how to use autonomous driving technologies on a race car, and then transferring this technology to commercial vehicles to accelerate the development of autonomous cars in the road. Why is that? Because with Formula E, we are working on the environment, electric cars, air pollution. I guess in Mexico City during the pandemic, people had a feel about how it's to live in a city with much less air pollution. In Sao Paulo, at least, there was the case. It was the first time ever in 30 years that the city was clean, and it was it was a different experience to breathe the air in the center of Sao Paulo. And with Robo Race, we're talking about 1 million people a year dying, deaths, and many million others hurting themselves in accidents with cars. And one way of making it more safe is or doing fully autonomous car or autonomous features in cars. And Robo Race is a project to accelerate these technologies through racing. The same way as Formula E is accelerating electric mobility through racing, Robo Race would accelerate autonomous. And then people say, but there will be no drivers. Yes, but it will not replace motorsport. It's just a niche. It's just something else. Again, we are increasing the pie. It's not that we are replacing an existing championship with Robo Race. And I strongly believe that, for example, the safety cars of the future in F1, including, could be autonomous cars, it could be robots, and even F1 cars and Le Mans cars, they can, for example, do the pit stop in autonomous mode. So it will be safer, and teams will have to program the car to go into the garage, go into the pits, go out. So there is a lot of technologies to be explored. The company now is based in Los Angeles. We are using the Vegas Speedway, so we moved the company from UK there. Season beta, which is the second season of RoboRace, should have started this year, but of course we are all delayed, and now we're looking more into the second semester. But the technology is still going, the championship is still going. Dennis Sverdlov, the founder of RoboRace, is still heavily excited about the project, as I am. And hopefully we can use this technology for the greater good, and in the future to have faster cars and more safe cars for people on the road.
It's amazing. I honestly, I've been like so into it. A good friend of mine that works in Tilka, the track designers, they're now focusing a lot of the time into testing facilities for autonomous driving, because obviously they recognize the future of this. And you see a lot of, because what is happening is the car manufacturers will somehow become, in a way, they will just give parts in the future, because now the big race is the software. Who's developing the software? Because in the end, it's like plugging a USB to whatever car, whatever brand it is. So I think it's amazing what I saw at Goodwood is just absolutely insane, I think.
Thank you very much. Yes, Goodwood actually was not so bad this year. It was our second year last year. So the year before we were there and we were quite slow, but was the first time we managed to make it. And Goodwood has a very important problem with the car. There are actually two problems. The forest is so thick that you cannot use GPS. You have to go with computer vision. And then the computer vision represents another problem because there's a lot of shadows and there is not a clear line. It's not like a motorway that you have the lines that the car can follow. Goodwood is, but for people who doesn't know, it's always like with corners. There is no boards or marks anywhere. It's just a single road and you have to go very close to the wall. And we finished 44th this year with an autonomous car. So it was a good time in the end of for our car, and I'm super proud of what the team has achieved there.
So after the pandemic, I guess the plan is to restart the championship in 21.
We don't know. At the moment, we are looking to start it second semester with a few races, but. To be honest, I have no idea how this will go away, how fast. I expect that the world should be much more normal from July onwards. If there is not a second wave or another problem, it should be going towards this direction. So I think motorsport activities should return to normal in July, after July.
Yeah, because in the United States, we saw NASCAR already had a couple of events with obviously no people or at closed doors. IndyCar is starting in Texas, I think in a week or two. Also closed doors. We're in Formula One. We're trying to start by July at the Austrian Grand Prix. A lot of people obviously asking about Mexico. Yes, the event is still scheduled. It's firm for November 1st. With public, so I think it will depend obviously on the situation, but I think just the world is excited to go back to normality in a way, and for us in the racing industry, just get back to the racetracks and put in good shows again.
I completely agree. We are definitely looking to go back, even with closed doors for the time being. At least we can provide some entertainment, some racing. So yeah, I'm also crossing fingers that this goes back to normal as soon as possible.
And they're asking about the Formula E documentary, because I know it was during Monaco last year. It was in Cannes, no? That you guys unveiled it. is it out already, or is it coming
I
out?
think, I think it's out already in France. It was out. I don't know if it's out everywhere in the world. The documentary is called "And We Go Green." It was done by the same producer as the Leonardo DiCaprio documentary, so very, very well done. And I don't really have much more information than that. I hope it gets quite quickly available for everybody to watch, because it's a very cool documentary about the fight for the title between myself, Jev, Sam Bird, and basically the three of us.
And I guess we're running out of time, so I'll do maybe a couple more questions before saying goodbye to anyone. But another one that I saw is, who's your best buddy in Formula E?
I have a lot of good friends. For example, my good friend Felipe Massa, that we've been friends for many, many years. Of course, Daniel Abt, that has been we've been together for 6 years. But a lot of other drivers, Formula E is a good family, although there's a lot of rivalry. But my friend like Andre Lotterer, because we've been together in Audi before, in Le Mans. People that live in Monaco, we have a good relationship between ourselves. So yeah, there is a couple of good friends there, a couple of good guys that we hang around. Sam Bird is also a good friend of mine. People from Audi. So it is good, like Nico Muller, Robin Franks. We've done a lot of training camps together. So I really enjoy everybody there.
It's just definitely, I think, for the people that haven't tried Formula E, I just love how it's very like relaxed family type ambience. Definitely something you don't see in other paddocks, and it's just the accessibility to the fans. It's just very like a very friendly type atmosphere, and I think other categories should definitely learn from that.
Yeah, I agree. The way we designed the championship is to be a family event, and we definitely grow a lot in these years, but the spirit maintains. The spirit's still there, and it's very exciting to be part of such a project and listen to people saying, we feel much more at home, or we're much more happy when we're here because it's much more inclusive. We can talk to the drivers. We can. It's much more open to see the cars and everything. And yes, that's the new motorsport. We need to include the fans. The reason why we race is because of them. So whatever can make the fans more interactive, they have a better value for what they are getting, the best motorsport will become.
Amazing. Well, Lucas, thank you so much for your time today. It's probably a little bit late in Brazil now, but I think obviously a lot of the people enjoyed it, and thank you so much. Definitely, you're an example to follow. All the things you're doing, and all the you don't let rest. You're always looking for more. So congratulations on that, and
Thank you.
you're home. I hope you can come soon. Obviously, if you're ever around for the Grand Prix, we would love to host you.
It will be my pleasure. So congratulations to you also for the fantastic work that you've been doing. Congratulations to all the Mexican fans that makes our race in Mexico so special. Yes, it will be a big pleasure to be able to go back to Mexico as soon as possible for the Grand Prix, for Race of Champions, or for Formula E. And I hope to see you when I'm there. So thank you very much for your time and for the questions, and for everybody that watched us here.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.